podcast, Neil Haley Show, and the Cutting Edge Benefits podcast with our host, Anthony McMahon. Anthony, great topics every week. We get to see Tom sometimes and then you sometimes. So tell us what the topic is today.
Yeah, just working through, with a bunch of groups and seeing how we can save them money and keep the renewals low. I thought, something we don't always touch on that, I know Tom does discuss is RX spend and how to best go about it. So something that's really unique with our solution is basically how to use the secondary card, aka the MERP, to keep your drug costs low, source drugs as, low as humanly possible cost-wise through our third-party PBM. And then also, what does that ultimately do to your renewal, next year since you're doing that? So I kind of wanted to touch on that piece. And
Okay,
if you want to tee it up, basically,
let's just get going. All
yeah,
right. So about the MERP. Define MERP for people.
yeah, Medical Expense Reimbursement Plan is a form of a health reimbursement arrangement, Section 105 of the tax code. Basically, it allow you to offer better benefits to your employees at a fraction of the cost. Everything that runs through it is a write-off for the company, and it's a tax-free benefit for the employees.
Interesting. Why does not everyone do it? What do
They're
you
not
think?
aware. They are just simply not aware.
Interesting. Okay. So talk about how this is an important strategy and what you recommend in this podcast.
Yeah, so essentially the norm of it is, you buy a health insurance plan with whatever carrier, all the major guys, UHC, Aetna, Cigna, Blue Cross, whoever. And you run everything through there. You go to the doctor, you hand them the Blue Cross card. You go to the pharmacy, you hand them the Blue Cross card. So at the end of the day, every cost that you incur on the medical side or the RX side is, made aware of to the insurance carrier. You're running it through them for coverage. The problem with that, especially in the RX side, is that by filling those drugs, obviously they know how much those drugs cost, and by proxy, they know what conditions that you have because you're taking the drugs for those conditions. And throughout the year, as things happen, somebody gets on some new diabetic medication or somebody has some condition they need to take a high cost drug for, or whatever the case may be. Obviously, it costs a ton of money to do that and of filling the drugs. But the bigger problem is the insurance carrier is now looking at that employee and those sets of employees within the company saying, okay, wow, these employees, they're filling drugs for this, they're filling drugs for that, and they must have this condition, and this condition, and it affects your renewal at the following year. So what we do instead is we say, hey, for medical purposes, when you go to the hospital, doctor, et cetera, show both cards. Show your primary card with, Aetna, UHC, whoever, and show your secondary card. But when you go to the pharmacy, only show your secondary card. So it runs through our third party PBM and through the MERP, and we're not showing that information to the primary insurance carrier. So number one, we're sourcing drugs at the lowest possible cost through our PBM, our pharmacy benefit manager. They're sourcing everything, under the sun, manufacturing coupon cards, generic versus brand, et cetera. But also by having it not run through the primary insurance, we're not showing those drugs to the carrier. And that helps your renewal next year. When you get your increase and you get your renewal rates back, they're unaware of these drugs, they're unaware of those conditions, and that helps keep your costs low year over year.
Interesting. So you have those two cards, and that second card is where you get the better drug costs.
Yep, better drugs cost at the point of service, and it helps keep your primary renewal down with the major carriers because they're unaware, of those drugs, or, the fact that you're filling them in there as well. It keeps your RX spend down, it keeps your claims down. It's just a better way to go about it, going through a third-party PBM as opposed to running it through the major insurance carriers, unless the drug is extremely expensive and it's like, hey, this employee is going to hit their deductible and they could be done for the year, that might make sense. But for the majority of drugs, especially if they're not super expensive, but it's going to show these conditions and rack up claims over the year, it's better just to show that secondary MERP card solely, have it go through the PBM, not through the carrier, keep the cost low at the point of service, but then also lower the cost at renewal because your group looks healthier on paper.
So your group has to be healthier. They're going to raise your prices even more.
Exactly. If you show them all the drugs, if you show them all the conditions, if you run everything through the carrier, they typically will hammer you at the renewal, and the increase is probably not going to be your liking as a business owner.
Oh my. Like, and so that's interesting to do that because some people probably do the medical reimbursement plan, but then run it through the first card, and then the big time problems happen the next year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And once they know, they know. You might have to switch carriers. You might have to go to an entirely different plan. So, going about it in that manner, is what we find keep the cost low for our clients. Like a lot of, and this is the reason I'm bringing this up is we got some renewals back, in the last week or two, and they looked really good. Our spend was down, claims were down. On the level funded plan, people are getting refunds from the insurance carriers because they didn't hit their claim spend threshold that they paid premiums into. So by running all of the drugs and the RX through solely the secondary medical expense reimbursement plan card, that allows all of that to happen. It keeps the cost low on the drugs. It can get you refunded for claims on the level funded plans that we're enrolling people in, and it also will help your renewal look good next year, so you don't have to switch carriers and you're not getting this crazy increase.
Interesting. So, how much decrease in drug costs with running it through the second card? What are you seeing?
I mean, it all depends. I think the problem with it is, if you run it through primary, it typically just gets approved. The cost of the drug is the cost of the drug, and that's what it is. But what we're doing instead is we're sourcing it. So if somebody puts in for a brand, we're, trying to find them a generic. If somebody has a, high cost drug gets above, say, $250, we're seeing if there's a manufacturing coupon card available. Trump RX is a thing now. Good RX. There's all these different, programs out there that people can tap into and utilize to lower the cost, get the manufacturer of the drug or some sort of program to pay for it. But if you're just using regular insurance, you're typically never going to do that. But we do that in tandem with the employees that work for our clients, to keep their costs low, to keep the group's costs low, and to ultimately save everybody as much money as possible.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool, to say the least, to have this opportunity for people. And basically, what you're telling people is this plan will help with prescription drugs, but also not cause a huge rate increase in the next year.
Yeah, it's two birds with one stone. It's going to help you at the point of service in the moment, and it's also going to help you lower the cost next year on your primary insurance plan by, not showing them everything and keeping claims as low as possible. So that's a little tidbit and a tip for business owners listening out there.
Okay. All right. And the best place you can go is claimlinx.com. Schedule a call with Anthony today. Appreciate it, Anthony.
Yep. Thanks, Neil.
That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show on the Cutting Edge Benefits Podcast, guys. Take care.